Okay, guys. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Jenna Blackert,
And I'm Leonka Reina.
and this is the Hustle Morning Show. Today, we're talking with Jonathan Robinson. We're talking about past lives and some of the stories on how past lives have profoundly changed lives.
Mm-hmm. And healing
And
past lives, right?
oh
So
my
super
goodness.
excited to talk about that. And it's something that's truly dear and near to my heart.
Yeah.
So love joining into this
I really want to dive
conversation.
in. I was reading online about his past and how that was really an awakening for him when he had his first past life session.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I know how much hypnotherapy has changed my life and how, all the noise that I used to have is no longer that loud. That's still a little bit there.
yeah.
I was telling Leonka before the show started, I'm working on metacognition this week, which is basically that awareness when you notice yourself, like you're almost like above yourself, watching yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost that awareness when you're like, wait, why am I thinking that stupid thought again about myself? Or why am I not being present here and instead thinking about what happened last night or what's going to
Mm-hmm.
happen in 2 hours from now? And
I call that
sometimes
future tripping. I'm like, why are you future tripping?
just head tripping in general.
Yeah.
If I could just have an entire day where
Mm.
I was only present all day long, I think that would be the greatest gift I could ever give myself.
Well, yeah, and that the whole thing about spirituality, right? Like what we're really trying to the culmination of being able to say, am I aware? And stop back and say, am I aware? And continue to be in that place of observance as opposed to experiencing all of our human emotions and
Right?
freaking out and having all of these different experiences. Really every experiences creates another possibility and another kind of solidifies things and matter. So if we could really just be an observant, man, what we could really create here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So challenge for you. Let's see, I can get out of the first 5 minutes.
Gosh, right?
There it is. I already started future tripping right now. What would they think of that?
Talk about future tripping. Next Tuesday, we have the lounge,
Yeah.
and you are definitely welcome to join us. It is a bi-monthly group coaching session with me and Leonka. So if you hung out with us and you'd like to go deeper and actually have a conversation where we help you become a better healer, help you become a better being, help you get more present, help you focus on your own metacognition.
Yeah.
Please look for the lounge. I'm going to just dump it in the chat, but it's very simple and easy to choose. It's $37 a month. It has 2 sessions with us. It has some other good stuff, like you get 10% off special offers.
You get all of these speaker interviews.
You get all the
all of them.
interviews. Sometimes we hide a bunch of them after the summit so that you can only sneak and get their special offers if you're an insider. And that insider is being a part of the lounge.
Yeah.
So join the lounge. Also a reminder, if you are and do watch it on YouTube, please subscribe, and comment would be
Helps
even
with that
better.
algorithm.
We really love that. And we like when our algorithms are in rhythm.
I like that. I like that a lot. It helps that be in flow. And really, it's
Like
about
flow and synchronicity and all
Right.
rhythms.
and it's really about sharing more of this. It's like who can have more ability to, continue to invite others to have a different person, like just experience a different life. Happiness is a choice. And the more that we can continue to invite people to step into this space of happiness, albeit this show, right? We'd love that to be the case, but whatever it is, just the invitation to step into more of them helps the whole world. And the more of us vibrating on this higher frequency, damn, what we could create, right? So that's kind of the invitation there. And of course, everything that we do does go back to benefit riseandup.org. It's a mission. We help provide refurbished or devices to women in need, women and children in need, so that they can use those devices for education, work, and for getting connected to wellness like this. If I didn't have this this group, if I didn't have the internet, I don't know what I would do. I'd just be like a weirdo by myself.
I know, right?
Just all confused and like, what alien ship am I from, right?
Right.
But I'm so blessed that I have found so much great work, and we're going to talk about that as well.
Mhm.
And then today, just want to talk a little bit real quickly, space weather news. In the Mystic Space Weather News, today is October 24th, 2024. The sun is
Ooh, it's 24,
Yes,
24.
it is there is a 24/24 portal that only happens in the first half of the century, right? So if you're lucky to be alive,
Only happens in the first part of the day.
century. So if you happen to be alive during
Okay.
this century, you can experience these portals as we have like a 24/24, right? So 10/24/24. And with that, the sun is crackling with flares. The growing sunspot AR3234, which we've been talking about a lot, is crackling with solar flares, including more than half a dozen M-class events since Monday. Pulses of radiation are ionizing the top of Earth's atmosphere, causing rolling series of short radio blackouts all around for different latitudes and longitudes of the planet. The sunspot will become even more geo-effective in the days ahead as it continues to turn earthward. So remember, we were talking about last week that it was really quieter, and it's starting to pick back up as that sunspot, that little active guy, keeps blasting out these solar flares in our direction. The other thing I wanted to do was just give you a Palladian message for October 24.
Okay.
Detours happen for a reason. Rejections might only be a detour to a higher timeline that you simply could not see before. Trust that you are always divinely guided and that you are always where you are meant to be. Your intention is to be led by the heart. You will always attract what is for your highest good. The mind may not agree because it is driven by dualistic outcomes, but the heart is only interested in vibrating at the frequency of love. Keep trusting your heart. And that comes from courtesy of Palladian Channel on Instagram. Continue to like and share and visit us on our Instagram for How Hustle Live.
Yeah, we changed it.
We did. And we felt like it was a little more appropriate for the audience and the community that we're building here. And I also like when I read it, looks like it says How Hustle Live, like a way to and of course
get better than that.
Yeah, and of course we always remind people that How Hustle is actually a redefine, right? So it's all about
no, it's now defined.
That's right, it's defined, but it ain't the old school, work your fingers to the bone, and it is not, one of those things that's just luxury for luxury's sake. Today's luxury is all about sustainability, a new earth, and strutting your stuff while you get your hustle on. Anyway, that's what I got for Mystic Space Weather News.
Woohoo! All right, let's go ahead and bring Jonathan up. And we will get started right now. Hi, Jonathan.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hola. Yes.
All right.
You look so good in that Akashic library.
Why, thank you. Thanks for having me back.
Well, we wanted to bring you back because I think we both had this kind of feeling when we got off the call that we didn't go deep enough. And we felt that there's something about you where we just sense energetically that there's so much depth in your world. And I felt like we just didn't hit on everything that we really wanted to hit on in the last conversation. So I wanted to bring you back. And I know Lianka did as well. So
yeah. And have that deeper dive conversation and talk a little bit more, deeper into the work.
Like really what is past lives.
Yeah.
And I was reading your story online and I thought, wow, he really came to this work through using this work. And I didn't hear that story. So can you take us back to when you had your first past lives session and what that was and how that shifted you?
Yeah, absolutely. So my first hypnosis session.
Sorry about that.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So my first session really blew my mind because I was kind of stuck. I was unconfident. I didn't know where I wanted to go in life. And I didn't really know a lot about hypnosis, but I figured I'd give it a try. And I gave it a try. and it reorganized my thoughts. I was more confident. I won my first disc golf tournament. I always had the
Hey,
skill, but I was never like confident enough to win, the final match. And I was top salesperson for 3 months in a row. My love, some relationship trauma and shame was dealt with, so I was able to love myself, what I do, and others again. And it really opened my mind to, well, wow, this was just one session and I
wow.
got that much benefit from it. There's got to be more to this. And so then I started looking into past lives, and that just blew my mind open really far because I had a new paradigm shift on what is this reality? Where do we come from? Why are we here? And gave me a better outlook on life, really.
That's amazing. Tell me a little bit about what was it about past lives that really struck you? And more importantly, what would you say to the skeptic who is, really trying to understand past lives?
Like, is it real?
yeah, yeah. What would you say to that? I mean, I feel like sometimes getting that in our bones is actually kind of hearing these stories firsthand.
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
am I making this shit up?
Yeah.
That's how I
Oh,
felt when I first did,
Yeah.
and it's the
yeah.
work I love, right?
Mhm.
And that's a common thing that our mind, our conscious mind gets in the way sometimes. If we hear something true or false, we write it off as false if it's our first time hearing it. If we hear it over and over, then it becomes known, and our mind accepts it better. And that's part of it, neural and just NLP.
Sure.
But so I first heard about this at a health food store of all places, and I overheard someone talking about Michael Newton. My
Yeah.
body started vibrating. I said, this is important. So I went home and I researched him, and I couldn't even sleep that night. I was so excited. But I'm a skeptic, so I started reading all his books, Dolores Cannon's books, and I started seeing past lives pop up in other books like Autobiography of a Yogi, The Source Field Investigations by David Wilcox, great spiritual book, by the way. Um, but this concept is widely accepted in the spiritual realm of spiritual leaders, and it's talked about as a matter of fact. And I'll go through about six different modalities that it correlates with. Because if it
Okay.
was just one thing like past lives in past life regression hypnotherapy, that's not enough evidence for me, actually. So I wanted to
Mhm.
correlate with everything. So past life regression hypnotherapy, we can go into past lives and find evidence and do deep healing. Children's past lives. So children have a remarkable, exceptional ability to remember past lives. Because I don't know if I talked about this last time, but they operate in the theta frequency until age 8. So
Hmm.
children are just getting programmed for being an adolescent, then adult. They're learning multiple languages. So children, there's a Netflix series, Surviving Death, that has accounts. Jim Tucker out of the University of Virginia has two books on thousands of cases of children remembering their past lives in detail, addresses, names, occupations, family members. So that's substantial. Spiritual, let's see. Let's go to near-death experiences next.
Hmm. Hmm.
NDEs. With the advent of the CPR and the defibrillator,
Yeah.
we can bring people back to life.
Hmm.
And lots of books popping up about near-death experiences. And these people, I read the book After and several others, they can tell you what was happening in the operating room while they were dead, what the doctor was doing, and what the people were talking about. And that's just one example, but there's so
Right.
many cases of near-death experiences that correlate with past lives as well. Let's go to plant medicine next. So, shamanistic, psychedelic medicine, ayahuasca, mushrooms, in those experiences, we can see beyond the veil of in this into the spirit world, and that correlates as well. Psychics, channelers, and mediums.
Hmm.
We have Abraham Hicks, we have channelers that
Hmm.
can, I just recently went to a psychic and they were able to talk to a loved one that passed, and that's, correlates as well. So,
Hmm.
And then just all these spiritual books that are out there, as the last piece of evidence, from Autobiography of a Yogi to all these other books that are written that are out there that we should, be consuming because they're amazing. So if it was just one of these, six, I don't know if that would be enough, but all six of them correlate, and that provides substantial evidence. And it's like it's not like just a belief. If you don't believe in gravity, gravity's still there, right?
Yeah.
So if someone doesn't believe in past lives, they still go into their past lives
Yeah, right.
with
Well,
session.
and I think it should just be called lives, technically, if there's no time and space.
Mhm.
It's like almost
It
maybe
is.
we're perceiving future.
It is the
too.
same. When
Yeah.
I did the experience where I had Michael, Laura had the prophet who identified themselves as Nostradamus. He explained that we were existing simultaneously. And so
Mhm.
that the connection that I had in that experience was while he was present, while he was still
Had a
living.
physical
Isn't that
body.
crazy?
Yeah.
It's kind of like those, if you have those moments in your life where
Mhm.
it's something kind of feels like, oh, I might be connecting in some way. Wouldn't you say, Jonathan, that could be also us connecting with ourselves in a future, past, and, alternate dimension, really, that all simultaneously exist, right?
Yeah, parallel lives. Yeah, we do. I think we need more words for metaphysical
I
terms,
agree.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's why language and some of the sound frequency work is really being more, more present, so to speak. It's like out there because people are needing, they need to express a frequency, but there's no words for the frequency.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like feels Reiki. Some people say it feels like a magnetic force or static
Mhm.
or something, but it's we need more a field maybe. But yeah, we need more
Mhm.
words for it. And it's not even that important about what we call it or if it's past or future, as long as the client gets the healing,
Yeah.
Yes. Yes,
As long as they get
absolutely.
awareness even to change, I
Yeah.
think is all it really takes. I think it's doesn't really matter how we get there as
Yeah.
long as it works.
Let's talk a little bit about that. So, with clients and them experiencing some changes, I know that you had kind of shared with me a little bit of some of the wildest stories that you had experienced while you're working with clients. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Ooh, wild stories.
Wild stories right before Halloween. Hello, demystifying the mysteries.
Spooky.
Yeah, lots of stories.
Yay!
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think about these stories when I go to sleep sometimes. This is
Wow.
why I got into this because of the curiosity of what
Mhm.
Me
these
too.
tales entail. And, and I would like to point out too that some common misconceptions of this is that we've all been um, famous or rich people or princesses or emperors in past lives or Atlantis or Lemuria or aliens. But and I've had several people be those things, but it's more common to have normal lives, mundane lives that just go over different lessons throughout history and drama. And some people are excited and then they don't go into a life as a king and then they're like, oh no. But in reality, the spirit world doesn't care whether you're a king or a peasant or a regular person. The lessons you learn are just as important as a king as a normal person. So the healing takes place no matter what you are in those past lives.
Mm-hmm.
So wanted to point that out first. As far as crazy stories or wonderful stories, it's a lot of times people come to this as a last resort. So they've tried everything else and they still feel like this emotional guilt or shame or a weight is still gained. They tried everything else, nothing, modern medicine couldn't help them, and then they tried this. When they should try hypnotherapy first, probably, in reality. So one example, I had a extremely overweight woman, and she was about 500 pounds, and she tried everything to lose the weight, and nothing was working. And so we did a past life regression, and she discovered that in a past life, she went to this past life immediately. She was a very beautiful woman, and she was surrounded by other women, and she didn't know why, so we moved forward. And then she was part of like a royalty, as part of like a king's chamber. And I said, are you part of the royal family? She's like, I don't think I'm part of the royal family. I don't make decisions. I kind of just relax all day with these other women. And what she found out was she was part of the king's concubines. So she
Mm-hmm.
was a king's servant. And she was the most beautiful woman of the time. All the women and men sought after her, and they had a good king at the time. Then one day, the good king got poisoned. So he most likely got someone poisoned him, and a bad king took over, and he mistreated her as well as all the other women. But he
Mm,
mistreated her the most because he would pick on her because she was the most attractive.
right.
She took a vow to never let that happen to her again. She started eating excessively and became unattractive. And that vow carried over into this lifetime. So the subconscious tried to still protect her from like a defense mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
So we were able to, identify the problem, the vow that was taken, learn the lesson, and through my different techniques with energy healing, release that karma from her past.
Mhm.
How is she doing today?
She's lost hundreds of pounds.
Oh my God.
Hundreds.
Jonathan, that's so profound. I mean, for someone when experiencing that, it's almost like you're losing your life, because it's really hard to move and I imagine, right? So it's almost like you gave them their life back. You did, I imagine. So hats off to you for that.
Yeah.
You asked me to ask you a little bit about birthmarks and how fear and phobias show up, and how those are kind of playing a role in today.
Yeah, that's one I'm so fascinated by
Me
because
too.
fears, phobias, birthmarks, a lot of times they come from past lives, and especially birthmarks because there really is no s- um, identified reason for birthmarks. It's like a birth
Mm,
defect. They say there's no like, and so what I've discovered though is birthmarks a lot of times come from past life trauma.
Mm.
interesting.
Huh.
Fears and phobias as well. Like we don't know why we're afraid of something. Like for example, me, I fell off a sailboat when I was 5. I was afraid to go on a sailboat till I was 19. I didn't know why. I
Wow.
didn't know. And so this is what the subconscious does. It
Yeah.
helps. It just does. There's not. It's not rational. It just wants to protect us from dying or fear, getting that fear again.
Mhm.
So if past life trauma happens, we get eaten by a tiger, or we drowned, or we're burned, or we get something around our neck, we could be scared of those things currently in our current life. So, I've had a person with a birthmark on their leg that did a past life with me, and she was also afraid of being in the woods alone. And, it's okay. There's a lot of scary things in the woods.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she went into a past life as a person, I think it was in Canada or Russia or somewhere in the north where there's pine trees. And she loved to hike, loved hiking. In that life, she was a male and she loved to hike around. But she was hiking alone one day and she slipped on a rock and fell all the way down this mountain and got impaled on her right leg with a stick.
Mm.
And she was stuck there. The stick was in her leg. No one was there to save her. She was miles away from civilization.
Wow.
And she realized after she spent the night there, but took the stick out the next day. And shortly after, she bled to death in that dying scene of that lifetime. So if you get impaled, don't pull it out, by the way. But um, she was able to identify why she was scared of the woods,
Mm.
and the birthmark on her right leg was the identifying factor of what happened.
Hmm. Yeah.
Many times there, I've also read that people will start to develop maybe like a, you know, how you get like a little bit of a mole or something like that, like at the age of like 25 or so. And that could also be the time and the age when that person had become like
Oh.
inflicted with something, or you'll see it come up in like a QHHT session or a past life session. It'll start to kind of be read and maybe heal,
Oh.
but I've heard really very fascinating stories in that way too. So wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Injuries, like my collarbone injury, broke my collarbone 6 weeks ago and it's healing up good, but I had Reiki done on it and the Reiki, and she was great. It felt amazing. If you haven't done Reiki, guys, try it out. After I did my first session, years ago, I felt more like myself. I got my throat blockage was fixed and I felt more confident and just, you go to the doctor and you get your blood work done, but that's like checking a car engine with the oil, is the oil clean? But we need emotional checks too, and
Yeah.
that checkup from the neck up. And she was able to clear that out and really made me a believer. And I learned Reiki after that. But a few weeks ago, I did Reiki on myself, and she said this injury here. She just felt a strong connection to a past life where I um, had an injury here, a traumatic injury here, like stomped on by horses or just something
Mm.
happened. I could relate to that after I did a past life session after that.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's funny, I have everything happen in this one area on my right side. Like I first had like some gallbladder things happen,
Hmm.
and then I had my appendix out, and then after my appendix out, I had an abscess that I had to go back to the emergency room to get drained. And now I've got like right hip things. So I'm thinking that there must have been some sort of trauma that happened like right there. I feel like I was stabbed or something, right? But I've never done a session to actually go into it.
Hmm.
I've had an energy healer tell me that, she's like taking out the knife. And then she had another session where she's like, now there's like a handle still stuck in there.
Wow.
It's like, is there something you're trying to get a handle on or something?
Oh,
But it really woke me up to like have awareness on, oh, okay, this one area of my body has some dis-ease.
hmm.
Hopefully my awakening around those things and my awareness around those things and will help others too.
So the right abdomen, I had some blockages there in the
Mhm.
psoas. The psoas is like right
Yeah.
above your hip, and that's
Uh-huh.
that area. For me, it had your body keeps things, emotions until they get released. So it was keeping
Mm.
some negative energy there. And I did a body work. Body work is a lot different than massage. It's not like
Yeah,
relaxing,
like
it's
rolfing or something.
pressure points and releasing tension. And
Yeah.
he was able to really push into that psoas. So maybe if you haven't tried that,
Yeah.
releasing
Well,
the issues from the tissues is what they call it. So
uh-huh.
I really get that psoas, and that might
Yeah.
clear some of that up.
Yeah. Well, it's changing and it's improving. So
Yeah.
and occasionally I'll like go in the suffering of it for a minute and then I come back. But um, well, I think, these stories are quite profound that we're talking about. Can you share a few more on, people that have just really changed their entire lives like you had? It's like you even almost wouldn't do this if you hadn't had a past life session.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so let's talk about another one with relationships because that's a big deal.
Mm,
And our soul group, we incarnate with the same people, but we
Hmm.
switch places as far as karma is concerned. One life, they could be the mom and you could be the child, and the next life they could be the husband and the mom or the daughter, so it's always different. Why we choose to do that is our soul's evolution through time. We get to trade places because it'd be boring if we were just the same type the whole time.
Yeah.
So I had a really interesting story, and I call this one the Betrayal, Forgiveness, and Redemption, about a wife and a mistress. And so this one was a father who had a daughter and a wife, I guess, but they got divorced. And the father started dating another woman. And despite the father's best efforts, the woman and the new woman and the daughter just didn't get along.
Hmm.
They would clash, and the more time they spent together, it would just get worse. And despite the father's best efforts to mend the relationship, he couldn't, and he didn't realize why. They didn't really have a reason. So
Yeah.
he tried reaching out, and he reached out to me, and we did a past life session with him and his the woman at the time. And as the session unfolded, it came to light that the father had been married to his current daughter in the past life, and the new partner had been his mistress.
Mhm.
So the daughter was devastated by the betrayal
Oh,
in the past life.
yes.
That tension carried over to this
Mm.
lifetime.
Wow.
Yeah, if you don't get along with someone in this life, and that actually happened to me and my sister. She was the older brother, and I was the younger sister in a life, and she got all the credit. And so sometimes we bicker and we don't know why. And so,
Yeah.
if I just did a session with someone else too, and their current boss, who has authority over them, doesn't get along with them, was in a past life. Um, cheated on his wife in the past life with them. So that
Mm.
authority carried over, and now it was his turn to kind of be mean to him. And they were actually able to mend the relationship after he left. But these relationship issues can carry over, and it's good to like take a step back and not realize that maybe it's the ego, or maybe it's something more than just what happened, and let let things go and try to mend these relationships, because it doesn't help us just to argue and move forward. And it's better to mend them and release it and forgive yourself and forgive
Mm.
others. If you know Ho'oponoponopono, I love
Hmm.
Yeah.
Ho'oponopono. That's a good thing to practice if you don't do that.
So if I'm getting this straight, you do the past life regression and then you use other techniques like Honopono or Reiki to actually help facilitate the change around it.
Yeah, absolutely. So after we
Tell us
go,
about that.
yeah, so we identify the issue with the life in that past life, and then we go out into the cloud, is what it's called, right? And back, we leave that lifetime and we look at it from a different perspective. The higher self comes in, and we do some type of trauma healing, like I did last time on the show, or inner child healing. We imagine the younger you is in front of you. What would you say to them to comfort them and give them a
Hmm.
big hug, give them some support, ask them if they'll come with you and leave the rest behind, the hurt, and make yourself whole again, because you deserve love, you deserve the rest. So it's very intentional, and under hypnosis, it works even better than talk therapy and these
Mhm.
other things. And that's why I became a hypnotherapist in the first
Yeah.
place.
I agree.
Yeah, I really get that hypnotherapy changes your point of view. Like in any area that you really want to and you're choosing to really work on,
It's almost
right?
like a hacking, right? It's like that.
Yeah,
It's like you get to hack your way in and then create new neural pathways.
right.
It's like we get to bypass all of that subconscious programming, and
That's so
put in,
cool.
put in what we want.
Yeah, I think, and I feel like it kind of gets a bad rap sometimes, because there's these channels and people would rather come to the psychic to get advice and awareness, and yet I think that you should never go to a
Uh,
psychic necessarily. I mean, unless you already really know your knower,
yeah.
and you're constantly going, is that true? Is that true for me?
Yes.
Is it really true for me?
Yeah.
Or are they just telling me something? Because I feel like sometimes psychics can get them on a trajectory where they're like, a psychic told me this, and now I have to do this.
Well,
And I feel like people don't know themselves well enough to really work with a psychic the way that they could.
yeah.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I will give psychics credit because I get a lot of business from psychics. A lot of
Sure.
psychics say, "Oh, you need to get a past life session."
Uh-huh.
So I do like that part of
You
it,
do like
Yeah,
that.
I would
right?
love
But
all
see, that's
psychics.
somebody
They're promoting
bouncing
us.
around, instead of actually, making a choice for themselves to get healed. Now, they may be, depending on the person. And
I
I
think this is a
personally
point of
think,
view, honestly.
yeah,
I do.
you think that's my point of
I
view.
do. I do. I
Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to
So
continue
I
doing it
like
the
how
way I
they
want.
I like how they
do.
point. And so I like how they give, say, oh, you need to look into past lives. But I think past life regression from the client's perspective is more powerful because they're
Yes.
experiencing what's happening. They're seeing the
Yes.
scenes, the emotions, they're feeling it, and they're from their firsthand perspective, from a safe viewpoint of seeing what's happening instead of someone just telling them, oh, this is what
Mhm.
happened.
And I think that's really what you're trying to get to, Jenna, is
Yeah,
that
agreed.
we have our own answers within us. And
Right.
when you and I work together, it was you telling you what you were experiencing.
I know.
I'm not, I'm
When
just
she
asking
did a
questions.
QHHT session
Mhm.
on me at the very end, it was almost that my whole world just kind of kept like whatever was speaking
Her higher
through me,
consciousness.
my higher self, it like told me, it's like, here's this, and this even, and things like that. And I thought that that was really interesting to, have all that, especially on recording.
And I
Yeah.
think that's what's the most magical, wouldn't you say
Yeah.
that, Jonathan?
It's so magical.
That
When you connect with your higher self or spirit guide and they are able to kind of talk through you and the feeling of that feels so good and so empowering and just it's like this you really connect with them and know they always have your back, they're always with you. And we choose to we choose this the level of difficulty of this incarnation. So we some people can choose to have them more in the forefront or more in the back front, depending on our level of difficulty or challenges.
Mm.
So imagine your life on Earth, and it's like we're in a maze. Our higher self can view the entire maze, and it can give us direction only if we ask, though. So we have to ask for help.
Yes, we
So they
do.
can see what's happening from above, but they're not telling us because we have to figure it out ourselves.
And we have free will. And that's the directive from wherever it came from. Ourselves, actually. Wouldn't you also say that the different roles that we play, whether it be the mistress to the daughter, right, or those siblings that have the rivalry, we choose those and we ask them to play those roles for us so that we have these karmic lessons. So wouldn't it be advantageous for us, or how do you present it back to someone who's really having a problem, and then you're like, well, this is a teacher, right? Those people are our teachers in this current life. How do you get around, like, or give
Yeah.
how do you approach that?
Yeah.
Because
Well,
that's gonna be sensitive. I'm like, no, your son's acting out because da 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 da, and giving you like a pain in your neck, and I'm saying, and he's your teacher. You're gonna be like, yeah, damn right. I'm about to slap my kid right now if you don't get it together, right? Like, so how do you have that healing conversation for them with
I
them?
would I would say if us humans weren't so stubborn and we would change when we're comfortable, we wouldn't need all that drama. But we don't change when we're comfortable. We
No.
change when we're challenged or
Yeah.
we
Mhm.
absolutely
That's
need
so
to.
important.
So that's why people have these near-death experiences. They change right after that. So it's so dramatic, the shift. But without that, they'd go down that same line of life, not doing anything or whatever bad habits that they're doing. We had a story, I don't know if it was from me or a book I read, but we had someone go into a past life and they were in the past life they were stabbed in an alley, a dark alley, and they we asked, why did this happen? Why did this terrible thing happen to you? And the subconscious laughed and they said, "Oh no, these are our friends. They were just helping me."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what do you
Yeah. Isn't
mean?
it
They were helping
crazy?
you. that's terrible. They stabbed.
They
Yeah,
stabbed
but
him.
if he would have been going down the same line of life, he would have never changed. And after he was stabbed, he survived and he changed his life dramatically, took a whole new trajectory, and that's
Yeah.
that's what happened.
Wow. Well, I think that, experience changes us always. I mean, experience, like if you have an experience, good, bad, right, wrong, however your point of view is about it, it will always change what's
Right.
in your head,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. You'll
'Cause,
never be
you
like
know-
you are forever changed, like no
Yeah.
matter what. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
get
mean,
that.
even if you like, just, had a little curb accident, right? I mean, I even feel like traveling, when I travel to London and have an experience, like there is something that I will never forget about that, and it becomes part of us. And I
Yeah.
think that it's having a past life, therapy session with you sounds like an experience in its own right.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
So it's like it changes them forever, no
Uh-huh.
matter what. There's going to be some sort of insight there that'll shift something in the subconscious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and for in the universe, a good, I don't know if this is a quote or what I figured out. It's probably common knowledge by now, but the universe will continue to test us until we pass the test,
I know.
Uh-huh.
right? So we got to pass that test, and we can ha face these challenges from lifetime to lifetime. And a lot of times, we'll go into a past life as I had a past life session with a woman with an abusive husband, and she never spoke up. She never did anything or spoke up, and they got divorced. And then another past life in the same session, she was with another abusive husband. And in this life, she's in a relationship
Yeah.
that she just ended with an abusive husband. And what she realized was her throat was clogged up. It was a blockage in the throat. She wasn't speaking her truth. So she realized that she needs to stand up for herself, speak up. And after the session, she was able to speak her mind with her family and her husband. And she got a new job afterward that she's proud of. And she's more just on this better track that she's passed that test now. And the past
Wow.
life regressions were able to show her what she needs to do to get to the next challenge to pass that test. And now she's speaking her mind, and she's really intelligent. And people
Wow.
love
love
what
that.
she says too.
See, that's life-changing stuff.
It is
I
life-changing.
mean, even if it's subtle within one person, I mean, they don't have to lose hundreds of pounds for their life to change, but somebody that was, always unworthy or wrong and always hiding. I mean, and they have this awareness, and now they're like, well, wait, this is my lesson. I've got to express again. I really feel like that's truly life-changing, to get somebody that has had those natural habits of hiding and making themselves wrong. When they change, it's just absolutely profound. And I think that's probably what happens to a lot of people. Like they've just kind of felt pushed aside, like the little child that's like, be quiet in the corner, seen, not heard kind of parents. I think that's quite profound. We've had a couple of questions
Yeah.
on the feed that we just want to bring out. And if any of you guys have other questions, please just go ahead and type it in the feed. We'd love
Oh,
that.
also in YouTube as well. So
And
you can put that in the
YouTube as
chat.
well.
We'll go over
Yes.
and look at it.
Thank you.
Casey says, is it possible to have a past life reading without knowing exactly what the topic or focus for the person getting the reading?
It's a good question.
So it is important to have intentions, but no
Yeah.
expectations going in.
Cool.
So going in with a completely open mind to the new experience, but your intentions will guide you to see what's most important. Your higher self knows exactly what to show you, what not to show you, and what you'll most benefit from.
Mhm.
Isn't that the most exciting part? It's like we don't have to, or you don't have to govern the whole session. It's really, really guided by that person. Like,
Yeah.
and their higher consciousness.
Are most
It's
of
so
them,
fascinating.
do most people come to you with a problem or a struggle?
Most have a list of questions, yeah. And so we go over the list of questions with them. We write it into hypnotic language that the subconscious would best answer, and that's so important. And
Mhm.
by the end of the session, usually all their questions get answered, and before I even ask the higher self what the questions are directly. So they learn the lesson through stories and through the past experiences. Um, Even if because at the end of the session we talk to the higher self, but typically their questions are all answered. So that's the beautiful thing.
Mhm. Yeah, that's cool.
Another question was, oh, Joe just made a comment. He says, my experience with NDE, it changes the body too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, of course it would. I mean, as soon as your point of view changes, then your epigenetics
Yeah.
get lit up different
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah.
So I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I think any experience really changes your genes,
Yeah,
your
actually,
genetics, right?
What we're doing right now changes things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you laugh, if you laugh for 5 minutes, just kind of hysterically watch comedy shows, do you know that changes 22 of your epigenetic genes like light up and turn on?
Ooh, I'm gonna have to come on the show more often. That's great.
Have a comedy.
Or at least watch it more often. Yeah.
Hey, thank you. We have fun here. We take these big topics and we try to make it a little more bite-sized
Yeah.
and do have fun with some of these
Paula had a
topics.
question as
Yeah,
well.
you
Yeah.
do, and you all are so informed with metaphysics and hypnosis and these topics, so that's what makes it so fun.
I joke, I said, I'm like a dog with a bone, right? As soon as I get my mouth on something mystical that's just so cool, I just will dive in and just
Yeah.
consume everything I
Yeah.
can find around it.
Yeah,
And
it,
it's-
remi
Yeah.
Yeah.
it reminds me of me.
You. Yeah.
When I worked for a holistic healing company, I got to talk to thousands of holistic healers from hundreds of different modalities, and I learned all
Yeah.
these things and stuff, and it was so exciting. And what you're doing good dives even deeper because you get to talk to someone for a longer period of time, focus
Right.
on that.
Yeah. Yeah. We just get to, kind of let them enter our world.
Yeah.
And even I love this work so much.
Yeah.
And I think I probably like you because I can tell that there's depth there, right?
And authenticity, of course.
Yeah. And then with this, humble, just present you. I just love it so much.
Let's see. Paula says, what about people who have trouble letting go and feel they can't be hypnotized?
Mhm.
We have like a bar that's right here, so I can't see
Oh.
our monitor right now. But
Yeah, so so hypnosis is just like riding a bike. You get better at it the more you practice, just like meditation. So your mind in your body will learn to release and let go. So it'll be easier after you do it a few times. So that's why I send people a guided recording before the session to practice with. And I've realized after they listen to that once or twice, they can really go deeper, and my sessions they get more out of the session. But really trusting, vibing, have the same spiritual beliefs as the hypnotist is really important. But yeah, you got to trust yourself, trust the universe, and trust the person guiding you so you can let go. So it does help if you do practice though beforehand.
Mhm.
Everyone can do hypnosis. Everyone can do past lives, I've realized. So it's not like you need to be have this natural ability like a psychic or something like that. Everyone can do it with these techniques that are available.
yeah.
Yeah, I think people, have these beliefs that they can't. And I guess I thought, I was so resistant to anything. And did like what I called fraud patrol, where I was like, I go to a Reiki healer and be like, well, we'll see if this works. I was just like talk about skeptic. I was like the biggest skeptic 10 or 12 years ago. And then, and then I started to have my own mystical experiences, and then more and more, and then these gifts would show up, and then it was just kind of like I couldn't fight this anymore. It's like I can't fight that feeling anymore. It's like what the hell is actually going on? But it makes so much sense that there's so much more to our life than just these five senses.
Well, I would have to say I definitely credit the experience that I had through the past life regression sessions that I've had for completely changing my world life. I mean, I wouldn't be doing this work today, sharing it on a public, in a public platform by any means. I used to be so shy about it
Yeah,
because I was
like
so
we tried
weird.
it ourselves.
I was so weird. Even my best friend would be like, dude, don't do that weird stuff because like we were out like out about in a club or whatever. These dudes are gonna think we're weird. Like, don't do that. Or don't talk about that stuff. Even though she totally knew that I was that way and knew that I had my own gifts,
Mhm.
and I just didn't know what I was experiencing and what those were, yeah, and if it was acceptable.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until my past life regression session that completely opened up my whole world and changed my entire life. So there you go.
Yeah, it did.
Beautiful. And it's great to do what you love, be your true authentic self instead of pretending to be
Yes.
someone else and doing things that they like to do. Now I just do things that I like and I attract people and things into my life. There's so many spiritual people out there, guys. But we're all scattered. So we need to find each other. So
Yes.
shows
I
like
love
this,
you.
events like this, festivals, crystal fairs,
Yes.
psychic fairs, just kind of get around just people in your community or online and reach out to them because you
Yeah.
are the average of the 5 people you hang out with most.
And actually, if you do start to reach out to other people, I found that your spirit guides, the more guides start to show up for you because they realize that are starting to have a bigger platform. Not that you have to go out and whatever. It's just about, are you sharing that message, maybe to your friend and saying, "Hey, I found this. I would love to plug the podcast, right? I'd love to. I found this How Hustle talk show, but or I found this book. I thought maybe you could, benefit from it, and that changes lives, and more spiritual guidance will show up because you're making yourself available for changing the world, really, for creating higher vibration. Wouldn't you say that's what you found as well?
Yeah, yeah, and I've realized, no one's in life, like no one's gonna just hold your hand unless you're really, really lucky. But it's good you had to reach out. So when I was learning hypnosis, I reached out to 20 people in my area. 5 answered and 2 I met up with. So it
Nice.
takes a lot. It's like getting a job kind of. You need to just reach out, put yourself out there, and don't worry about the people that say no or whatever. Just go with the people that do say yeah, and those are the right people for you. So
Yeah.
you'll keep
Yeah.
trying.
Because even if someone says no, they could be in a certain different place in their life, or they're just not the person for you at that time. The same thing with the different people that we work with as far as our mentors, right? As far as someone working with you as a facilitator of this. That person might feel that they totally vibe with you. Whereas
Yeah.
opposed that they weren't really feeling it before. Like Jenna, she had a fraud patrol up, right? But maybe you were the person that she was meant to work with that day.
I still kind of have my fraud patrol up, to be honest. I just think that I think that I'm more advanced than others, and so I don't think some people are good, in a way. And, that's my point of view, and I don't, well, that makes us bring on really great speakers
Right.
like yourself, because I will kind of, touch into their vibe. And then if I don't like it, I'm like, come on.
I know.
Bianca.
But then sometimes those people end up resonating, and
They
it's
do,
true.
yeah.
They end up resonating with our audience, way better than she
Wherever
would even
they're at.
right.
I know.
It's
I mean,
because
I think
there are
this-
people that are all in different
Yeah.
places. It's just like me and
I
you.
know.
Our work is so different.
Yeah,
Like
I agree.
where my spirit, I call them my library guides, have me go was definitely like a trajectory like yours, Jonathan, where I was doing, I consumed all of Michael Newton's books, and then it was Dolores Cannon. I couldn't put it down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that was my path. And I've realized all spiritual
cool.
healers have one thing in common, and that's a healing journey.
Mhm.
So we've gotten hurt, we went through hell, and the Western
Push out.
medicine failed us, and we learned how to heal ourselves or reached out to wellness or what Eastern medicine to help heal us in different modalities. We found it so fascinating, so enlightening that now we want to help others with it. But some healers haven't healed completely yet. So they haven't, but that's okay. They're still on their journey. And
Sure.
just
Well,
because
none of us
someone,
have healed completely, really. I mean, I
Right.
think there's like the Dalai Lama and Buddha, right? That are,
Louise Hay always used to say, you teach what you most need to learn. And that is how you continue to create this, basically the circle of life, really.
yeah,
Is that how we continue to lift as you climb, right? You help others as you learn.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I, Jonathan, had, collaborated and we kind of exchanged some ideas as well. And I mean, had you not gone out to those 5 or 10 people to learn about hypnotherapy, now you have this huge platform in which, I've reached out to you, right? So I think that's really, really awesome. And that's just speaks volumes to how this works.
I love that. But
Yeah.
Casey also asked a question. She's like curious whether you have had a session with somebody's plant medicine experience. Would that be a soul contract between a person and the plant spirit?
oh man, that would be a good question for the shaman.
Yeah.
They say
Yeah.
the mushrooms are, have a consciousness and have a lot of wisdom. Trees have wisdom, but yeah, I think that would be better off asking a shaman that.
I would agree.
I would agree with they do have consciousness.
Yeah, well, I think everything has consciousness,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
Like I've had this conversation with other people that like even our houses have consciousness,
Yep.
right? And you can ask your house to protect itself and other things.
Even
so
our, like,
what's
your
your thought on that?
electronics.
I mean, I don't know if that's I kind of when it was first introduced to me, I was kind of like, really? But I kind of think it might be true now.
Yeah, everything's
Or maybe my point of view that my house has consciousness creates the house having consciousness.
What's
Yeah,
up, Casita?
they say that a house left alone falls apart faster than a house with people in it.
It needs to be loved on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we saw it in, what is it, Encanto, or is that the movie that she always in the Disney movie? She's like, okay, Casita, like
Yep,
they really gave the house a character, and a lot of that whole movie was all mystical experiences.
I know.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
That's fun. So fun.
We see it everywhere, y'all, in all the media. Just all the signs are telling us, like, this is the thing that you can add that one, Jonathan, to your list of of why we should be believers, right? Because Walt Disney said so.
Well, you got to think those movies are made based on some sort of awareness or
Download.
energy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
look at Avatar.
Yeah.
Like there's something going on there behind
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
guy's
yeah,
mind.
for
not
sure.
just the story.
For sure.
Yeah.
He's getting
Yeah.
that downloaded somewhere.
Oh,
I
yeah.
had a
It's too
Pocahontas,
true.
like Pocahontas was one of my favorites with the music and the story and the plot and everything. And
Yeah.
Grandmother Willow, was so spiritual, right? And
Yes. Yes.
I did a session with someone who had a Grandmother Willow that was on Earth thousands of years ago. And they were able to talk to this tree just like they were to Grandmother Willow. And
Mhm.
I asked them, is there any trees like that now? And they said that one isn't there, and they don't know if any others are. But that was that was so cool because I love that movie and the trees, could talk to them and
Yeah.
I bet that came
What,
from,
what about Game of Thrones
Yeah,
at the
folklore.
beginning? Where what was his name?
I don't know.
Braun
I
or
never watched
something?
it.
You never watched
Oh my God, I'm the only
my
person.
God.
Sorry.
All right, I won't go
will.
there. I thought everyone watched that one.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why. I was
Okay.
very much in my corporate life.
Well, Jonathan made a very special offer for you guys. We have shared it before on the show, but I would love for us to share it again and talk about how you can work more with Jonathan. Except I put it up and took it back down, I guess. There it is.
I found meditating near groups of trees, you can raise your vibration faster. So the trees do have that consciousness like we were talking about and that energy flow.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, every
And
time
they
you're in
communicate.
nature, you feel like you're more commune too. I mean, there's There's a lot going on.
You talked about David Wilcox, and he talks about how the trees actually can hear us, and they did some scientific, experiments where they could actually, tell that the plant was actually having like a conversation with the people that were doing the observing. Isn't that
I
fascinating?
love that.
It actually had responses and differences, not just like how you like, oh, I love you, and it grows better. Like these were, very very elaborate scientific experiments that they did to realize that we have a full communication with our nature.
Yeah, it was
Love.
equivalent to a polygraph test, a lie detector
Yes,
test.
yes,
And they hooked
yes.
a tree up to that and
See,
they
me and
intended to
you.
burn it and the tree went crazy. But when they
Yes,
didn't burn it,
yes.
it did nothing. So yeah, the tree knew our intentions were to harm it
Right.
or
Isn't
good.
it
So
crazy?
that was fascinating.
It
Yeah.
is fascinating. Yeah, we'll have to pull that story out and share it as well. Jonathan, you and I probably have rabbit holed a lot of things in similarity, which is probably why we have you on this, obviously why we have you on the show.
Yeah, good
Well,
to be
yeah, it
back.
seems like you guys have really studied the same pieces of work.
It's so crazy.
I
Yeah.
know. It's like we're twins, but we never met before.
Yeah, I feel like, and I, it's funny because she'll keep recommending some things and I'll like dabble in a little bit. And then I go back to Joe Dispenza. I'm like, I want to know everything he knows. And that's my person right now before I had other people. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that you're
With my own obsessions.
yeah, well, I think my library guides is what I call them, my library guides. It's
Uh-huh.
like all of like totally absorb all of this
Yeah.
different research and information, and then I'll move to something else that gives me a new
Totally.
piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you did, Jonathan, I could tell.
Well, if you're dabbling with wanting a session with Jonathan,
Don't
he's
dabble.
kind of
Do it.
dabbling. He's going to tell you how a session would work with him because it's a little bit different than just like, call him up for an hour.
Yeah, so all my sessions start with a consultation call. It's free, and we talk about what your goals and needs are. You'll get to know each other personally, share information, and with the so I specialize in the past life session. I do trauma release, other things as well. But this for the past life session, it's completely unique to you. Every session's unique and special. That's why I love it so much. And it takes about 2.5 hours. I record the session, so I send you the audio recording afterward. You write down your goals. I send you an audio recording to listen to beforehand. And you never know where these are going to go. You never know how transformational they'll be. So I've had people like me go from being stuck and lost to finding their purpose. I've had a lot of, I check into my clients and I've noticed a lot of them are learning hypnosis now or they're spiritual healers now, and that makes me so happy that I was there on their journey to becoming, you know, uh, a healing person or a holistic practitioner.
Mhm.
So, and whether it's just for curiosity or to learn why you are the way you are, I just did a session with someone who felt lonely. They don't like people. They like being alone. It was hard for them to even reach out to me. And she loved staring at the stars. And we did a session, and in one of her past lives, she was actually from another planet, apparently, with red and purple skies, with
Mm.
spaceship with different didn't look like human. So we never know where these are going to go. And I'm open to everything. And it really doesn't matter as long as you get the messages. Everyone experiences these differently. If you're into music, you might get songs. If you're into math, you might get numbers. If you're into metaphors, you might get signs and symbols. So it's really like a daydream, like you're dreaming, but you're still aware. And you're
Mhm.
able to view these things in a safe, guided environment where we can work through challenges and highlight the talents. We can find out who you were in a past life and what talents you had. Maybe you knew Reiki in a past life and that transferred over. Or maybe you knew nutrition and that's why you're so drawn to that. Or maybe you're a musician and that's why you have a harp in the background.
I love that so much, Jonathan. I was talking about that last week, how me and you had worked together and I asked your ego to go, and I don't know why. Oh, I do know why. So Jonathan has this really unique ability to convey images, and I found that in working with him. So, coaches need coaches, and we all need each other. So we trade and we do sessions on each other. And so I gave him a session, and he in his session started conveying images to me. And one of the images he gave me was him playing the harp. So, I haven't even said that word in a long time. And I was like, well, can we ask your ego to go and play the harp for a little while we do some, higher consciousness work? And Jonathan kind of like laughed and he goes, I really wanted a harp. Or like, he's like, how did you know? And I was like, I don't know. You just convey these images to me.
Oh, that's cool.
So I think you'll get that experience too when you work with him in a session as well. So
neat.
exciting. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
When I did a session, I was on a different planet.
You convey messages too. You convey images too.
Yeah. She was like, what are you wearing? Are you wearing clothes?
Look at your feet. Do you have shoes?
Yeah, it was interesting, because it was kind of this like upside down skirt with this like outward thing. And we asked, I have a connection with the Arcturians, and we asked if it was that, and it was like, nope, this is just, evidence, sharing. I can't remember exactly what it was sharing, but it was kind of cool. I think it's just so wild to think that this is real sometimes. Yeah.
I have a connection with Arcturians as well. So that's why we all get along so well.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so cool.
That's very, it's sort of like we'll have different channels on, and then there'll be certain ones that I'm like, oh, that's home. It feels that way to me.
Yeah.
The Aqualorian, which I haven't really given, that I was like, what even is an Aqualorian?
Right.
And it was just I had such a connection with it. I haven't really gone there with them, but I thought that was kind of interesting. I didn't even know Aqualorians were a thing before Sherry, right?
Another speaker we had on. Joe says, everything has consciousnesses and you can talk to that consciousness. I talk to hurricanes. Yes, he does. He's one of our lounge members, and we were, one of the big hurricanes was coming, and he, really worked with it. It was profound. And one of the things that we do in our lounge is like really help people get their gifts online. So that was really fun.
Bring awareness to the weirdness, and if things are affecting us like entities, like how to manage that, and how to manage our.
I think it was Dana that said that, Jonathan, you need to visit us in the lounge as well.
Shara.
Yeah, Shara, okay.
Yeah, that might be fun.
Yeah, let me know when it is.
Let's do it. Yeah. Valentina says, I have even had a tree hug me back. It could have been the wind, but I know it was not, though. I believe you. I really believe that. I so believe that.
One of the speakers I had on way back in the year, she actually was so depressed that she just went out to be in nature, and she ended up, there was like a fallen tree, like it was alive, but it was kind of tipped over. And she's like, I'm just gonna be here. And she's like, I was just so miserable and mopey, and I just laid down and rested on this tree. And she's like, I guess I fell asleep or something. And then all this awareness came through me, beyond what I ever knew. And she said, and that's how this work started.
Yeah.
For her. Yeah. It was a really it's been interesting having these conversations for so many years.
Always ask for help. They always keep telling me they can't interfere unless we ask. So ask daily, ask.
Yes, I agree. Yes, ask. And we forget, don't we? Sometimes I'm midnight, I'll be pulling my hair out and I'm like, what can I do here? Trying instead of asking my guides. We're never alone, y'all.
Yeah.
Well, Jonathan, thank you so much.
Yes.
Was there any,
Fun. I feel
yeah,
like it's just like a conversation among friends.
it
when we
went
have
so fast. Like, what happened?
I know.
Any parting words for us or any ideas that you want to, convey to the audience today?
I just thank everyone for being here. If you haven't checked out their other podcasts, they're really great and a lot of great spiritual content, people on here. And if you've tried everything else and you still feel that hurt or that lostness or some negative feeling and you haven't tried hypnosis or past lives, this could be, you're here, so it could be universe bringing the right people together at the right
Right.
time. Try this because it can be transformational and this deal won't last forever. This is a great deal that we're giving you, and it's on the website, so take advantage of it while it's there. And I thank
Yeah.
everyone for listening.
Yeah, it's half off, you guys.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
cool.
it's profound work.
Yeah, and I mean, every one of these conversations, if you're called, like I was called to our Aqualorians, right? If you're called to this work, I mean, you'll know. And I just want to remind you that, these are invitations always. We should call them special invitations.
Right.
Instead of special offers. I
Yeah.
just want you guys to be with that whenever we do an offer. But if we didn't do an offer, you would feel like, well,
How do I work with
how
them?
do I work with him? Or, can you give us a discount? Right? And that's why we put them together for you
And
guys.
it's also how we are able to continue to do this
To
wonderful
work. Yeah,
work together and, show up live
Yeah.
as a resource for you,
And talking about other ways to contribute, we have these little necklaces now in the shop.
I don't have my on and I look
Yeah.
for it.
So we've got a few little triple number necklaces and we're getting some hat and some hustle gear. So if you have the newsletter, just go to the marketplace and, you can contribute for $30 or whatever. And we have a donation for Rise Enough Now if you want to contribute in that way. And I just thought, yes, we should mention those things.
I know.
And if you want to contribute, you can also comment on their Instagram feed at howhustle.live and YouTube. And you can do the same for Jonathan as well. He has an Instagram as well that he's been actually helping us with.
Yeah.
Helping us grow as well. So just thought I would put those little nudges in. It's funny how we get to these end of these calls and we don't want to really wrap sometimes.
Well, it's just fun being in each other's energy.
Do you have any past live thoughts that you want to share next?
Man, I could go on and on with all these stories. But the remember the information is in you. So finding out your own past experience would be the best because that's unique and special to you. But these stories are inspirational and that's what led me down this path. So just hopefully I can plant the seed to help someone else to create a positive ripple effect on the world. So
thank you, Jonathan. And thank you everyone too for joining us.
Yeah.
You can always join us every Tuesday and Thursday. We're live at 9 a.m. Pacific, and just, share the link if it's howhustle.com.
Yeah. And if you're looking for the lounge, you can find it at lounge.howhustle.com. And that is a bi-monthly group coaching program with me and Leonka.
Yay.
We might bring in guests now too.
And
now that that's kind of entered our thought system.
Yeah, that'll be super fun.
Yeah, be cool.
One of the things I was going to say too is definitely look for us on YouTube. If you are having any trouble doing that and you're seeing this on, hearing this on the podcast, just search How Hustle, and that's it.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Who do we have next Tuesday? Do we have anybody?
Is it Tony next
Yes, Tuesday.
No.
Yeah. No.
No.
We have
Dr.
Yes. We have Dr. Warnow. I can't say the last name, but anyway, we're going to be talking.
Wolverton.
Thank
Isn't it
you.
Wolverton?
Yes, and we're going to be talking, gosh, we're going to take this conversation even further. So a lot more QHHT, a lot more, she's got, various different human codes that she downloaded into maps that she wants to talk about. So that'll be really fun. And then we have
Halloween.
then we have Halloween. We're going to have a big kind of fun, spooky story. And Tony connects with the praying mantis beings.
Yeah.
So interesting, very, very galactic. So we get to go all the way out there, y'all. Be sure to join us and check the schedule always. We're bringing on a ton
And
of
we
new
are
speakers.
updating the schedule at
Yeah.
outhustle.com,
Yep.
by the way.
All right,
All
guys.
right, guys. Bye, everyone.
Love ya.